Hi you guys, welcome back to the program. Today we're going to talk about RMDs, required minimum distributions, what they are and why we have to take them. Coming up next on the Firefighter's Financial Toolbox. Hey, welcome back you guys. Today we're talking about RMDs. For those of you who don't know what an RMD is, it's a required minimum distribution. They apply to all of your tax deferred or pre-tax retirement accounts. We're going to talk about why we have to take them, what they are, how they apply, how we figure out how much we have to take, and all the information you didn't want to know. First of all, what is an RMD? An RMD is a required minimum distribution. Has to be taken at 70 and a half. All those years you were putting your money away pre-tax, right? You're getting that tax deferral. When you turn 70 and a half, the government says it's time for you to start paying back the taxes. Now, even if you don't need the money in these accounts, you have to start taking required minimum distributions. What kind of accounts does this apply to? Anything you have that was taken out pre-tax. So, your 401k if you did pre-tax and not Roth. Your traditional IRA if you contributed to a traditional IRA. If you had a rollover IRA from an old 401k that you rolled over. If you have a SEP IRA, a simple IRA, if you have a 403b, if you have a 457, any of the plans that you had money taken out of your check or you contributed pre-tax, those are the ones they're after. As we said, the reason is the government wants their money, right? First of all, most of these plans have the 59 and a half rule, which means you can't take the money until you're 59 and a half. But you don't have to. You can let it grow as long as you want until you're 70 and a half. When exactly do you have to take it? Let's say, for example, my birthday is in November and I turned 70 in November, which means I would turn 70 and a half in April the following year. Now, you have to take it by April 1st of the year following the year that you turn 70 and a half. So in my case, because my birthday's in November, I don't turn 70 and a half until after April 1st. So I would technically not have to take my first RMD until the following year on April 1st. But here's the catch. If I wait until April 1st and I take last year's or this year's RMD, I still have to take next year's RMD before December 31st, which means I would actually have to take 2 RMDs in 1 year. So in my case, it would be beneficial to take it by December 31st of the year I turned 70 and a half, and then wait until the next year to take the following one. Does that make sense? Okay. What if I forget to take it or I decide I don't want to take it? Okay, you guys, this is a big thing to listen up to. If you do not take your RMD, you have a 50% penalty on the amount of the RMD. So let's say the RMD for this year was $4,000. You would have to pay a penalty of $2,000. Then you would have to pay the income tax. And that's how much money you would actually get. So you could lose 22% plus $2,000. You'd be left with maybe $1,200. This is something you don't want to do, you guys. Now, there is one exception if on RMDs. If you're still working for an employer at 70 and a half, you do not have to take the RMD from that 401k. But if you have any other IRAs, you still have to take from those accounts. Remember, RMDs are always taxed at ordinary income. This is why the IRS makes you take them. How do you determine how much you have to take? Well, let's say, for example, that you have $200,000. The IRA balance is all of your accounts together. So if you have a rollover, if you have some traditional IRA, and let's say you have a 401k, you need to sum up the whole amount, and that's the amount you figure it out on. First year, you have until April 1st of the following year to take it. After that, always have to be taken by December 31st of that year. Here's how you determine how much. Let's say it's December 31st, 2019. I need to look at what my IRA balance was as a total on December 31st of 2018. Now, it may have grown over the year, but I look at last year's total, and then I go to what is known as the Uniform Life Table. The Uniform Life Table is on the IRS website. That's on publication 590, guys, if you're looking for it, okay? It's distributions from IRAs. If I'm 70 and a half, so let's say I waited till the end of the year, so I turned 71, right? I'm 71 because my birthday is in November. I would go down to the distribution period, and I see that it's 26.5. That's my divisor. So what does that mean? I take my $200,000 balance and I divide it by 26.5. That gives me the amount of the RMD I have to take this year. If we look at the table, we notice that the numbers actually get smaller, and people get confused by that. Remember, it's a division. It's not a multiplier. So what that means is the amount actually grows each year. Now, there is one exception to this. If you have a spouse who is more than 10 years younger than you, okay, more than 10 years younger. So let's say my wife, I was 71 and my wife was 60. And I would look at 71 and I would scroll down to 60. And I would notice that my divisor is 27.2. So this would make my RMD smaller. Now the reason this is, you guys, is I understand the money's gonna have to go further for the two of you. It's very important that you understand which table you need to use. Now, on their website, they also have a worksheet. And the worksheet basically tells you, first determine the value of your account. And this was the account balance on December 31st of last year. Then we're going to determine the applicable lifetime expectancy factor. So you enter your age as of December 31st of this year. If your spouse is the sole primary beneficiary of the account, we're going to use a joint life table if she's more than 10. Then we're going to calculate the RMDs for this account. As we calculate the RMDs, we're going to go across to the table. We're going to take line 1 divided by the number entered on line 2, which is the amount balance, and this will give you your RMD for this year. Now, each year, you're going to have to redetermine the sum of your balances. Now, it's important you understand that if you have multiple brokerage houses that you use for your accounts. For example, I have Vanguard for my wife's rollover IRA, as well as my taxable account, and a separate 457, a separate rollover 401k. I would have to account for all of those accounts that are tax deferred together. Now, your brokerage house may send you a RMD for what they have. If you have them in more than one location, you guys, it's important that you do this complete sum total. The IRS will know if you try to shortchange them. The things we talked about, 70 and a half. If it's tax deferred, which means you had it taken out pre-tax, these are the accounts you're going to have to pay taxes on. We talked about when we have to take it, right? By April 1st of the year following the year we turn 70 and a half. And if we do that, and we wait till the following year, April 1st, we take that first RMD. Remember, we have to take the second RMD by December 31st of that same year. So we may be better to take the first one the end of the year than wait till the following year where we may have to take two. We talked about the importance of not forgetting to take an RMD, right? 50% tax penalty, you guys. Big, big tax hit. Do not forget those. Very important. Remember, it's always going to come out and taxed as ordinary income, so whatever your ordinary income level is in retirement at that time. We talked about all the different types of accounts that are susceptible to RMDs. One thing we didn't talk about, and this is important, one of the things you can do if you don't need the money is you can make what is known as a qualified charitable distribution. What this means is, let's say my RMD this year is $4,000. But I don't need it. I can actually make a charitable contribution for the full amount of my RMD and not pay taxes on it. This does satisfy the RMD rule in the eyes of the IRS. So one thing you can think about, if you don't need the money and you have a charity that you would normally give to, give your RMD to that charity, and you can save yourself some taxes as well as satisfying the RMD. Okay, you guys, we talked about a lot of stuff about RMDs. I hope you got something out of this. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions or comments about RMDs, put them in the comments. If there's something you feel like I missed, please put it in the comments. If I need to, I'll make a follow-up to this to address any things that I did miss. Otherwise, we'll see you in a couple of days.